Man, so you have Kwame Kilpatrick, man. I remember he was the mayor of the city of Detroit, where I'm from, in 2001. I believe in 2008, that's when he was really starting getting convicted for his crimes and for perjury, lying under oath and other obscene crimes, sex scandals with the chief of staff. And, when he, made his tenure here, his political aspirations, becoming the mayor of the city of Detroit, when second black mayor of Detroit, man, it was just a really amazing thing. A lot of people was very happy for him. People was like, dang, this is something that he's a man, he's a leader, alpha male. This is something that we need to look upon, and he can probably eventually turn a lot of things around, like with the crime rate, the property taxes, probably eliminate gentrification. I mean, and inspire a lot of black and brown children to be politicians or any upscale people in society, man. And what's really was going on too with the bankruptcy, what's going on. It's a lot of things that city of Detroit has to really address. I mean, of course, the single mother households, man, about 70% of it is in the black community. Even though Detroit, Michigan, I believe is 80% black. If you invest more into fathers, I feel like he would been like more of a father figure to a lot of inner city kids, man. I mean, building up parks on the infrastructure. It's a lot of things that we really have to really take in consideration. But I mean, he has sound riddle people in his councilman, but at the same time, man, I heard from the other DPD officers, they were stating that when they was working for him, like he can be very arrogant to the point that, hey, you're gonna do what I say. He wasn't really putting a lot of input, and maybe because I was real young, so I'm just going from my experience and other people's perspectives of him. That he was, even though he was arrogant, he didn't really want to look into other people's problems and issues. He was consumed with so much just power and like, hey, I got this notoriety, I'm a leader now, hey, whatever. And it was just more turned into a dictatorship, and he was losing the interest of the police department. And I think that's really was mainly his downfall. And also too, just really smuggling the money, not really doing too much with the money invested into the Detroit public school systems. It was really failing a lot of kids, man. And to the point that children, when they get out here, they wasn't really equipped with the survival skills and skills to really contribute to be good functioning men and women in society, right? And to actually accomplish that American dream there. I mean, it was people just working low wage jobs. It was very difficult, man. Daycare centers, you were still dependent on the welfare system, Section 8, a lot of all this stuff, type of stuff, man, that was really beneficial to single mothers. It took a lot of the fathers out of the household. So therefore, man, it was just very difficult for men and young boys who grew up in single mother households to become men and actually develop that masculine type of traits in order to like, hey, if you want to get something in life and be self motivated, you got to go out there and get it. You got to be productive and legal, instead of just evolving to the gangs and all this type of stuff that goes on. So people really, he was more like of incoming President Obama, in a way. Some black people, and black people, majority they voted for him, they liked him, but and just when just got caught up in the news for just doing all these crazy things, I'm just like, man, like, and people just making fun of him. And, it was one like prostitute that actually had an accident, died or whatever. He was doing some cover up scenes, and he pretty much lost his vision. Now, he was sentenced to 28 years in federal prison because of this. And I believe Ebony Foundation, I think President Donald Trump was doing, he's still doing the prison reform and history of releasing people from prison, especially due to this COVID-19 situation here. They just believe that, hey, he's 28 years in federal prison. That's too much. Took his political license away. He stated that Kwame was like, hey, even back in 2008, he was like 2018, I believe, he was just saying like, hey, man, I feel like I've been here for a very long time, 10, 11, 12 years. I feel like I'm a changed man and I can make a positive contribution to the world. Now, with this situation, I feel like if you would have had the most discipline to really invest into the people in the city, I think that him and President Obama in that particular time, when President Obama was president from 2008 to 2016, they would have made a lot of necessary connections to actually give weight and for African Americans to have some weight in the justice system. Um, Especially it'd be a lot of elimination from police brutality from black people and law enforcement. I think that would be a really substantial thing. It would be have a lot of black men in Congress. I feel like because of his presence, but it really just goes to show you when I read this Kwame Kilpatrick story is that you got to be accountable for your actions, and like you can be high up. But if you don't have a great conscience, you still don't have a plan, and you feel like you're just above everyone else, God can he can destroy that from you. He can take that leader position away from you, and now you're left with nothing, to little or nothing. And now every time someone mentions your name, they think about the bad things that you have done, despite that you went to school. I think he went to Florida A&M or something like that. To study politics, man. Despite that you grind and worked hard and made those necessary connections to become the mayor, you had the charisma, but all those talents that the Lord has given you, it may be just in the midst of darkness because the things that you have left behind. And so, this is something that we can really learn from. I'm not really opposing if Kwame Kilpatrick comes home at the school at Ebony Foundation. Let's see, Reverend Ken S. Payton, National Director of the Community Outreach Engagement at the organization, argued that his almost 3 decades long sentence did not fit the crime he has done. So, President Donald Trump granted the former mayor clemency. That's just like basically a grant of mercy. Usually the governors have the power to do that. February 25th, requesting an early release is one of the several efforts pushed by the group to get Kilpatrick out of jail. And Friday's release and mentioned coordination between several groups, including the National Baptist Convention of America, NAACP, and a coalition over 30 black mega churches. I remember Pastor Jamal Bryant was stating like, hey, he can make a great positive contribution here. A member of the Birth Missionary Baptist Church. So you got a lot of pastors up here, that's really, advocating for him for his early release. I don't know if they're going to make any type of necessary connections here because this is an epitome here of the black community. I feel like, but we look at this too. We look at Coleman Young, he was the mayor for like 20 some years. Then you look at, Kwame Kilpatrick, and we still see the state of the city here. Do we really need black politicians? So you got some people thinking about that, turning that eye here. I just really felt like if Kwame Kilpatrick really would have stayed focused, I will say about this, he was, Ray Snyder was the governor of Michigan. He did talk about the Flint, Flint, they had a huge plan of converting from the water supply to the Flint water, and it was already contaminated. He was like, no, like, why would you do that? Like, it's a poisonous pipeline, neurotoxins are there. People are going to consume this type of water, and it's going to destroy their bodies. Like, it's going to really mentally mess the children up and the generation before them. But that's there nowhere. But it's a lot of things in here that I think that Kwame Kilpatrick is gonna get off his chest. He can really make a comeback here. He can go in here and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be welcome in this community. The thing is he going to be able to run for office again? Will people gonna be into his trust? Will he be working for the state representatives of a district of Michigan? I don't know. As hard as probably obtained to his political license, people will still look at his track record. Is this a man that's a convict, is a felon? Is the one who made contribute to an affair of his wife? Who knows, man? You got his children that move into a different states and try to change their names because of this, what he has done and what he has led, and as being a leader of the city of Detroit. It's a lot of baggage. So I just feel like if I was in his shoes, I would try to restore, if not, restore emotional abilities with my sons, my children, because they're growing up, the things and emotional responses they have to go through high school, middle school, all that type of stuff. Even in my ex-wife, writing letters, I'm pretty sure hopefully he was doing that before I started moving forward to my vision of being an advocate for black people, because you see what's going on here in the city of Detroit. Property taxes are going really high. You got people with these reverse mortgages and all this type of stuff that goes on, man. People can't really afford it, and a lot of homes in the city of Detroit are, that were kind of owned by the previous generations. I say, the boomer generation and, the generation X coming in, and you got the millennials coming in, and they can't afford a property tax because they do low wage jobs and part-time jobs here in America. About 70% of Americans live in paycheck to paycheck. It's kind of hard for them to actually keep up that wealth. And now it's onto the bank. So it's a lot of things that goes on. Infrastructure needs to be good. Flint water crisis is still going on in Michigan. It's a flood right now in Michigan right now in this particular moment. Not so many businesses are in Michigan as far as like that's black owned. Of course, we got the Arabs own most of the stores. Koreans mostly own more like the beauty supply stores. Some Chinese restaurants in there. You got people, foreigners coming into the city, always been like that, man, and just taking our dollars away from us, man. And we need more business loans, bro. It's all kinds of stuff, man. Have the ability to get a passport, if you got a misdemeanor, or you have, you was locked up for the possession of marijuana, little stuff like that, or you was on child support. It's a lot of government type of programs that's really, I feel like that's dismantling, that's not really good for young African American men. And the thing is, if you don't invest in your men, there goes the foundation, it goes the community. How can we prosper? How can we have some type of political representation if there is no type of men in society? So what they're gonna do, like, you got other presidential candidates, they're gonna go ahead and just just cater to the women, because they know that the women, most majority, owns most of the voting block. It's a lot of things. So I just wish Kwame Kilpatrick, he learned his lesson. If he comes out here and if he comes back to Michigan and becomes a citizen again, but we'll see, man. As me, I'm very loved and into politics and want to have a political career. I just analyzing his mistakes, not shame him, but I'm just analyzing his mistakes. And when I get in that position, I don't want to make the same mistakes he's made. But that's all I really have to say, man. This is your boy Leon Link Jr. You guys continue to like, comment, subscribe. This is my issue about that and my take on it. If you guys want to interview, just please email me at rodney9312@gmail.com. I appreciate you guys, man. Thanks for the new subscribers. You guys take care. I'm out.